All right, Beaver readers, let's do this. First chapter Thursdays. So glad you're with me. So we have some people who are on Zoom. Hello. And then we have some people on Instagram Live. So I'm loving it. Today, I'll be frank with you. I was really feeling like we needed to make sure that we had
You're muted, Tuesday. You're muted.
That is going to be a problem if I try to read an entire book muted. Follow my lips. Okay, all right. Ms. Wood, good to see you. We're actually recording this, so right now you're on the video. Okay, so I'm gonna cancel out your oh, or you will. Good job. Okay, and then everyone else, hello. Good to see you, Ms. Barron. And then we're gonna start the story. Okay, so for those of you who missed maybe the first beginning of the fun, I need an uplifter, folks. I had a really good time on Tuesday because I got to see seniors, and I know that other staff members also were like, oh my God, thank God, right? But I needed an uplifting book. So I'm reading from our Summer Beaver Reader List, and I'm reading Running with Sherman by Chris McDougall, okay? And it's, he also wrote Born to Run. And in this book, I just need to warn you, if you're the kind of person that gets really, really connected to animals, and then when they are in pain, you're in pain, this book's for you. Because there's this human animal connection that I think a lot of people have that will really, really get you. So in this story, Chris actually, he adopts a donkey. And so Sherman is the donkey. And Sherman is funny because Sherman shows up, and that's where I'm going to take you, is to what happened when they first meet Sherman. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what happened to Sherman in the story. So the first chapter of Running with Sherman, Shadow in the Dark. I knew something was wrong the second the pickup truck pulled in our driveway. I've been waiting for Wes for more than an hour now before he even came to a stop. The look in his eye had warned me to brace myself. He's in rough shape, Wes said as he got out of the truck. Rougher than I thought. I've known Wes for more than 10 years. Nearly from the day my wife and I first uprooted ourselves from Philadelphia to live on a small farm in Pennsylvania Amish country, and I'd never seen him so grim before. Together we walked behind the pickup and pulled open the trailer doors. I took a look inside, then immediately grabbed my pocket for my phone. Luckily, I had the number I needed. Scott, you got to get over here. This is really bad. Okay, Scott said, just make him comfortable and I'll be over in the morning. Yeah, no, I think you'd better have to. I paused a sec to untangle my tongue. I mean, Scott was the expert, not me. But I didn't think we had many mornings left to work with. So I tried again to tell him what I was looking at. Inside the trailer was a gray donkey. Its fur was crusted with dung, turning his white belly black. In places, the fur had torn away, revealing raw skin, almost certainly infested with parasites. And he was barrel-shaped and bloated from poor feed, and his mouth was a mess. With one tooth so rotten, it actually fell right out when touched. Worst of all were its hooves, so monstrously overgrown, they looked like witches' claws. Here's, I'm gonna pause this for a moment because I have a picture of the donkey right now, and this is what it looked like when he came out. Can you see his little hooves? They literally look like some sort of wizard's shoes. Those are his toenails, just like toes, like it's just growing. So this is what they saw when they first got him out of the truck. Oh man, this is rough. Seriously, Scott, seriously, you've got to see this. Don't worry, Scott said, I've seen it all. Catch you in the morning. The donkey belonged to a member of Wes's church. Wes is a truly wonderful person to begin with. But then as a Mennonite, he's committed by faith to helping anyone in need, or in this case, any creature. Wes had discovered that one of his fellow churchgoers was an animal hoarder. The animal hoarder who kept goats and a donkey penned in squalor in a crumbling barn. The hoarder was out of work, so his family was suffering from his fixation as well. Money needed for food and rent was going for animal feed instead. Wes and several church elders had tried to persuade the hoarder to relinquish his pets, but he wouldn't budge. Finally, Wes took a deep breath and bent his iron-hard honesty to the limit. What if, he asked the hoarder, we take the animals away for 2 years, just 2 years. We'll give them to a family and get them healthy, and that'll give you time to put up some fences and clean out the stalls. It wasn't really a lie. I mean, himself, more like a hope, the hope that 2 years would be long enough for the hoarder to forget these poor animals and just get on with his life. Give it a try, Wes persisted. Okay, the hoarder replied, but they have to go to a good family. Wes got on the job at once. I mean, the goats were easy to place. Someone in Lancaster always could use a free lawnmower, but donkeys are tough. They're famously ornery, known for biting and kicking, and they serve no purpose on a workwood farm. They can't be milked or butchered, or in many cases, even ridden. Keeping them in hay and feed can be expensive, and that's before you're shelling out for the dental care and the worming and the vaccinations. So why did I want him? I didn't. Not when I got a good look at him. That was for sure. As transplanted city folk who knew zip about farm life when we moved to the country, my wife and I had gotten a kick out of trying our hand with a few starter animals. First it was a stray black cat that appeared at the back door, and when it survived and stuck around, we got some backyard chickens. And then a foster sheep that we took on loan from an Amish neighbor, to see if we could handle it. Like a kindergartner bringing home the class's pet turtle for some weekends. Wes owned the farm next to ours, and when he told me about the donkey he was trying to rescue, I figured, why not? We just turn it loose out back and let the kids feed it apple cores. I wasn't making any promises. Till we saw it, though, which was fine by Wes. I mean, the donkey's owner, he said, was a bit of a handful who felt the same about me. So one afternoon, my 2 young daughters and I headed over to the hoarder's house to check things out. Secretly, this was just our cover story. The girls and I had already made up our minds before we got in the car that unless this thing was a rampaging maniac, we were bringing it home. So during the drive, we schemed up ways to talk Mommy into this operation. And debated names for our future pet. Skull Crusher. Now, Zorro. Now, well, actually, maybe. But our happy chatter died when we arrived. The hoarder's barn was sagging in a field of mud, looking like a strong sneeze would bring it down. We slogged inside, straining to see in the gloom and pull our boots out of the sucking muck. A hard rain had fallen the day before, flooding one of the pens so badly that the 2 of the goats had to stand on straw bales just to be above water. Next to the goats was another stall, this one as dark and tiny as a dungeon cell. Inside, another creature was barely visible against the black wall. The hoarder called and whistled and held out a handful of feet. Slowly, a shadow detached itself from the darkness. Its long ears rose, twitching nervously as it struggled to take a step toward us. The donkey was mired nearly up to its knees in manure and rotten straw, and so cramped by the narrow stall that it could barely turn around. The hoarder poured the feed into my daughter's hand. She held it out, and the donkey stretched toward us to just gently snuffle it from her palm. My daughters and I stared at him in silence. We didn't care anymore about getting a pet. All we cared about was getting him out of there. The hoarder agreed to let us have him, but overnight, he changed his mind. When Wes showed up the following morning with the trailer, the hoarder dug in his heels and said, no, the donkey was family, and family had to stick together. Remember, it's just till he gets better, just for 2 years. Wes repeated over and over until finally the hoarder relented and opened the stall door. That's when Wes discovered the donkey's hooves had been so badly neglected that he could barely walk. Together, Wes and the hoarder struggled, one step at a time, to ease the sick animal out of the dark barn into the daylight and off to his new home. we get him off the trailer if he can't walk? I asked Wes, dreading the possibility that he might actually have an answer. Oh, my breath, silently urging him to say it couldn't be done and he'd have to speed the donkey off to some sanctuary or animal urgent care or whatever they do to handle these hopeless cases. Slowly, I guess, Wes replied. He took hold of the threadbare green halter around the donkey's head and very gently pushed him forward. What should I do? Get behind and push? I mean, that seemed aggressive. And besides, from what little I knew about donkeys, trying to shove it could put me right in the danger zone for an angry hoof to the kneecap. I mean, maybe I could kind of, just hoist it a little. I threw my arms around the donkey's back and cradled its belly with both hands, trying awkwardly to lift off its ailing hooves. I was ready to jump if it kicked, but it didn't seem to have any fight at all. It looked dazed, more like a moldy toy hauled out of the basement than a living creature. Gingerly, it took one step after another. It walked when we urged it, stopped when we didn't, as if it no longer remembered a time when it could think and move for itself. When we got to the end of the ramp, the donkey didn't even start munching the tasty green grass. It just froze back into a stuffed animal, head hanging and motionless. Wes had to scoot. He had 150 dairy cows waiting to be milked back home, and his last bout of hostage negotiations with the hoarder had put him way behind schedule. Wes wished me well and promised to stop by the next day to see how we and the patient were making out. I put a bucket of fresh water and some hay in front of the donkey, which still hadn't budged, and then I checked my watch. My daughters would be getting home from school soon, and I wanted to greet them with an action plan, something that would soften the shock of the donkey's appearance and let them know the animal would eventually be all right. I didn't have a clue. We'd wanted to help a creature in need, but this kind of creature and this kind of need was way beyond what I'd imagined. Readers, that's the end of the first chapter. So just as a little side note, what you need to know about this donkey, Sherman, is that the title kind of tells you what it's about. It's Running with Sherman, the donkey with a heart of a hero. So any other animal might have just given up. Nah, not Sherman. And not Chris McDougall, the guy who took him in. And he looks at this donkey and he's like, God, he's in such bad shape. He can barely move. Literally the hair was coming out in clumps. But he decided to take him in. Sherman gets a little bit better. And then Chris is like, this donkey needs something to save its soul, bring back its heart. And so he decides the best way to to soothe the donkey and get him kind of rehabilitated is to actually give him a job. That's not what I would have done, but anyway. And so he decides to teach Sherman how to run. There's this thing called burro racing. I didn't know anything about it either. It's burro racing, and it's kind of like back from when we used to mine, old-timey times. And so he actually teaches Sherman, and the donkey doesn't run by itself. You run with another human being. So the donkey runs next to someone. Anyway, so he enters him in the World Championship of burro racing. I know. What's going on? So anyway, obviously that's easier said than done, going back to the fact that donkeys are ornery. So he starts training Sherman, and he recruits other runners. He recruits humans. He recruits other burros and animals. He gets goat farmers. He gets the Amish running club members to help. And then even a female long-haul truck drivers join in. And I guess they all come together because they look at Sherman as this ultimate underdog and they want to help him. And so I just feel like this story, folks, if you're kind of in a sad place, which understandable, this story is one that will kind of pep you up. It's one of those where I think sometimes we give up, and Chris didn't, and Sherman didn't, and we can't. I know that sounds cheesy, and I don't care. Okay, I don't care. So I'm just saying that if you need a peppy book, and you need something in your heart, this might be for you. So the chapters alternate. You kind of go through Sherman getting better, and then you go through Sherman running. And I have enough trouble just getting booty and gear to run outside. I can't imagine getting my burro to run with me. So if you want to know more, Running with Sherman, I'm gonna sign off on old Instagram Live. Okay. But folks, we are super excited you're here. Tomorrow is book club, book club, book club. Woo! Yeah. So if you haven't read Obsessed by Allison Britz, this book, and Miss Wood was like destroyed by it. Allison Britz has OCD. So until 10th grade, it didn't really manifest. And then in 10th grade, it just full bore. And so she wrote her memoir of what it's like to have OCD. And so sometimes I think people don't understand. I know I didn't understand OCD. And then I read it and I'm like, wow, it's not a joke. It's people are really dealing with this. And to have someone who's actually dealing with it herself write the book, his own voices. So it's really powerful. So if you go to Schoology, you look in the calendar, I have a link there to Riveted Teen. It's just a free online Junior Library Guild book. So you can just read the whole thing on your phone or on the computer. Whoop, and someone's here. Oh, that always happens. Okay, I'm gonna pause the recording right now.